Hello, everyone. It is Wednesday. It is 4:30 p.m. It means it's time for office hours here on the ViaMonstra Academy. And that also means it is trailer time.
Yes.
All right. Good to have you here, Andrew. It feels like we haven't been speaking to each other in several minutes.
At least, maybe even 10 minutes.
10 minutes. We are presenting an Intune class this week, so we have been basically speaking since Monday. Yeah, good
We're
stuff.
basically roommates this week, virtual roommates.
Yeah, exactly. So, speaking of updates and things, what's been going on since we gathered here for office hours last week?
Yeah, so we've had a lot of stuff going on. You and I were catching up a little bit before this. Sounds like we've had a lot in the community, as always, over the last week. I just have a few things this week, if you'd like to share my screen for
I do.
Right. So some of these things may be a little bit of a review for folks, but even if we've shared something before and somebody comes at it, posts about it, or posts a new video, or posts a new blog about something from a different perspective, I still love sharing these things. So Microsoft posted a YouTube video on enrolling Windows 11 into Intune using a provisioning package. This is something that we've talked about quite a bit here on Office Hours. Johan has written a great blog post that we reference on a plan B for Autopilot when, believe it or not, every once in a while Autopilot does have issues, and as part of that plan B we have to use provisioning packages to enroll, which leads to a couple of other blog posts from Michael Niehaus and a couple of other folks from around the community. So I wanted to share this. It's another resource for all of you if you'd prefer to see a video or something like that. So good stuff here. Um, and I will also be sharing the other blog posts that I just mentioned for good measure. I don't think we can share those too much, to be honest. I came across a short and sweet, fantastic tip from James Vincent. Wrote a short blog post on where you might want to write your Intune logs. So if you are customizing your application deployment and setting specific log directories, or if you have a script, a remediation, something along those lines that is doing some logging, one of the I see more and more commonly recommended solutions for that logging when using Intune is to go ahead and write those logs to the Intune management extension logs directory, because when you go and collect diagnostics, use the collect diagnostics remote action against one of your devices, that's going to pull down those custom logs for you as well by default. Super useful tip. So thank you, James, for writing about that. And the last thing that I had was a post from Daniel Bradley. As we've been talking about, we're seeing more and more posts and more interactions that we as admins are having to do with Microsoft Graph. So Daniel wrote a blog post here on connecting to Graph using PowerShell and certificates while also using Azure automation. Thought this was quite timely because just on our course earlier today, we had somebody asking about some custom. They asked for a solution, and our answer was sort of a custom scripting solution, and that is something that could have been or could be interacting with PowerShell and Azure automation. Of course, using certificates to authenticate is also going to be much more secure than storing a secret somewhere, storing a password. So I thought this was a very timely blog post that I came across earlier today. I've been following Daniel for a while here, and he's been pumping out quite a bit of new blog posts in this area too. So recommend paying attention to Daniel's posts. So that's all I have, Johan.
All right, thank you, sir. I did see the comment from Joel here. Hi there, by the way, in the chat. I'm supposing that is a suggestion for a name change, Shiny Hours.
I love it.
Yeah, or maybe Shiny Office Hours. I don't know. We'll squeeze it in somehow.
Yeah.
But in terms of updates, some exciting things. Let me bring my screen up. Here and here. Was a tweet from the Intune support team last night. They are starting to roll out the 24.01 service release. I have not yet seen the release notes for it, but I'm assuming that in development, some of that stuff is going to be added. But that usually means it will come to tenants in Europe and the US soon enough. That they usually roll out within 3 to 5 days ish time frame there. So quite excited about that. Then, of course, there was a new version of the SyncML tool from Oliver Kieselbach, version 1.13, I believe it was. A fantastic little tool to view and diagnose Intune machines or Intune enrolled devices, where you can see in real time what's going on, etc. Policies coming down, force synchronizations, shortcuts to opening up, the known registry keys, calling diagnostics command. Shorthand, a great tool. And speaking of great tools, Michael Carsell, or Mickey K, as he is known on Twitter, released a new version of the IntuneManagement tool, or IntuneManagement. I call it a tool because it's an export-import tool, documentation tool. You can copy and compare stuff that you have in Intune. It's one of those absolutely life-saving tools if you're working in Intune environments. Say that you have a lab environment, you're testing your stuff there, you have a lab tenant, and you want to promote that into production. You can export them out using this tool and import them up in the tenant. So I actually haven't tried this release yet. I mean, it's been out for hours. I should have by now, but what can possibly wrong in the live demo? What do you think?
I don't know. That's sort of the mantra I've started to live by as well. Surely nothing.
Now let me go grab that one and see if we can get it going. Unblock that file before unpacking. I learned that by mistakes. Extract it to a folder.
I'd say just with these last two bits of news, that's a big week for community tools.
Yes. All right. So let's see. Here's the folder. I'll copy it over to my demo folder here, where I have some of the older versions. At least I'm somewhat consistent in naming it, so that's a good sign. Open up a PowerShell prompt, find that folder. Here we are. Let's see if the commands are the same. It did, dang it. Let me fix this. I do not like folders and folders and folders.
No.
I'm picky that way. That's a new command. Start with console, that would be great. Boom. Well, it seems to have logged me in, and if I check my device configurations, I have my profiles. If I check my settings catalog, I'll say it still works.
That's a good sign.
That's a good sign. But downright amazing tool. If you haven't seen it, download it, play around with it. Very, very useful. All right. Yeah, I know. Thank you. Then there was a tweet from good friend Mike Terrell, learning that there seems to be some issues with syspep for Windows 10 22H2, and this is for organizations that are still doing build and captures. Obviously, the recommendation these days is that if you don't have to, use a service media instead. It's a way better experience and easy to keep update. But there are still plenty of organizations where a build and capture still makes sense. It's primarily in education, but there are also other organizations that have so many apps so that it's simply one customer I talked to that they actually tried to abandon their thick image, and it took almost 4 days for them to build a machine fully. They had that many applications, and instead it took about 3 hours to deploy just the image with everything baked into it. So just before the office hours here, I don't even know the result just yet, but I did do a build and capture of 2 images. One that is running right now. This is my 22H2 image. So they fixed it in the January update of the image, because I just imported that image this morning. And if you follow up the replies on this one, there is indeed a reply that they fixed it just a few weeks ago here. So that problem used to exist. It's now taken care of. This recommendation still apply though, if you have the chance. But as you can see here, if you go over to my MDT server that I'm using for build and capture, the 2 builds I was testing was this one here for Windows 11. That is the January update for 2024 one. And the same goes for my Windows 22H2. It's also the January 2024 CU in it. So the problem that I used to have, and there was a follow-up link to it. Let me see if I can get to that one here. So this explains the issue, and they also provide some basically mitigations here. But a better mitigation in this case is simply use a better media that now has been released that you can use. So that was that. Then I stumbled across a quite shiny blog post from Torbjörn, or Mr. T-Bone as he calls himself, a fellow Swede that has a blog, but basically how to block personal devices in Intune or prevent them from enrolling. So that was a good one. Recommend reading that one. So that was all of that. Oh, and of course I got a new toy.
Ooh, new toys.
Yeah, it turned out that the for the class this week we had. So I ran out of physical devices.
Mm-hmm.
So I was forced to get a new one.
Of course.
And I'm so sad for this.
I can tell.
You can hear. Yeah, I can see. And this time I made I didn't do the same mistake as I did last time, because last time I bought it with memory. So last time I bought this machine here, which is a very nice HP workstation, an HPC8, a lot of memory, a lot of CPUs and all that. Mm-hmm. But if I look at the type of memory that is on this one, let me go ahead and borrow that command line. I have it here somewhere. I have a bit too many devices.
No, you can't.
I can't. Yeah, true. That's true. Here. So if I borrow that command line, I have a point with this. I'm getting to it. promise. First of all, the memory modules that were shipped on it was slightly slower. It was not mentioned on the page when I bought it on eBay, but they were. And more interesting, they are RDIMMs, meaning I can't have too many of them, at least not in HP machines. So when I bought the new one, I bought it with as little memory as possible. And whatever memory they shipped with, I janked out of the computer because they shipped it with the same memory chips as this one had. And instead, I added in these memories. So if I go here and here, it doesn't show the model on this one. That was unfortunate.
Oh,
I was hoping it would.
interesting.
Anyhow, they are low voltage DIMMs. So while I don't have enough memory yet to my liking, it's... Oh, wait a minute. This is a nested VM. This is the wrong one. Wait a
I
minute.
was wondering why it said Microsoft.
Yeah, no, you're right. There we are.
Aha. Much faster.
4 modules. Not enough memory yet. There will be added more. But these are the voltage DIMMs. And that means that I technically can have 3 terabytes in this one. I would have to go up to 128 gig. I was cheap. I didn't get them. They were quite expensive. But so far, I will settle for 1.5 terabyte.
That's not too bad. I'd call that shiny still.
Still shiny, yeah. One step at a time. One step at a time. Anyhow, that was the toy.
So do you notice, I suppose you'll probably notice once you start really ramping up the density of VMs and everything, but do you notice a perceptible difference in the RAM speed?
Not yet,
Okay.
but I'm actually running on this one here. We are right now running 6 VMs, but there are a bunch more VMs running inside of these VMs because they are all nested. So every one of these VMs has a Hyper-V host in it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. And this has been handling them no problem.
No problem at all. In fact, some of these are faster than my older Optiplexes running dedicated loads.
Wow.
But I have on my to-do list to do like real comparison, like how does a ConfigMan environment fare when you do a lot of deployments on a regular i7 dedicated box versus a nested VM running a bunch of VMs in it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
Thank you. And if anyone is interested on setting up nested VMs for lab and test through the ConfigMas series, I did spend about 13 minutes going through how to do that end to end. So that one is available, of course. I'm not going to play it, but I'm going to borrow the link so I can share it together with the other links. And that was all I had for news.
Well,
Are there any questions?
Absolutely. While we're on the topic, Matt was asking on YouTube, what is the type of your new toy?
It is a good question, but it is my new standard. If I can type, this one here, of which I have 2 now. Very shiny.
Fantastic.
Yes.
And you've been very happy with them.
Very, very happy.
Good.
Happy. So.
All right. We did have another question from another Matt that's joining us over on YouTube. Can you refresh my memory? What is the size limit of a PowerShell script added directly into a task sequence as opposed to doing the traditional package?
To my knowledge, there is like no real size limit of the script itself. It's more the sequence itself as a policy cannot be too big. They bumped it up, I like to say, to 4. But what we have found, let me bring up a ConfigMgr environment. Can borrow this one here. When you have your sequences open, here there is an option to show the size here, as I did, and that will tell you how big these sequences are. In general, for those actions that has a embedded script, like this one here does. Here is a PowerShell script that applies background info, and it's a fairly short one. My recommendation is when you start to see 3-4 pages of scripts here, I recommend putting them in a package and use instead. So say that you will be using modern driver management, which is using that PowerShell script. Let me open up that script in PowerShell and show you. This script is just shy over a few pages long. I would not embed that script because it's likely to fail. We're simply just seeing inconsistencies when having large script embedded into sequences. So I'll say 3 pages, so maybe, I don't know, 100, 200 lines of code at most. I will put it in package. So I hope that kind of answered the question.
I also like not directly size related. If I have a script that I'm going to be using in several sequences, I also like putting those in a package as well, because then I only have to change them in one place.
Smart, yeah. Have like a tools package.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I had somebody that told me once to work smarter, not harder.
That wasn't me.
I don't know about that. Matt just had a follow-up question here. Do you think it runs faster if it's direct as opposed to a package?
The script execution itself, no, but obviously every time you have to download something from a distribution point down to the client, yes, that will add maybe a minute to the sequence. So if you have like 15 scripts, as Andrew mentioned, it might be wiser to just put them all in the same package, because otherwise you have 15 packages that you need to download for really no good reason. Mm-hmm. So.
Excellent. Great questions.
Yeah, but it's actually funny when you start to look at it, because when ConfigMas sequences are being downloaded, they are policies in Config Manager and download as a policy, but they will be downloaded or like a file over the network, and you can kind of see those files if you put your heart into it. Might have some SQL data here we can borrow. Let's see what I have. Yeah, CM policy download. And they were, I mean, it wasn't that big, but it's still, this one was almost a meg. Policy coming down with the information. So, yeah, they do take a little bit of time to download, but can probably do a creative filter. Downloads. where the definition name equals this. So I have downloaded 5 policies, different devices. They were, well, everything from 200 megs to a bit over a meg. I bet there are sequences, all of them, but yeah. Anyhow, I hope that answered the question somewhat.
All right. Amir just asked a question here over on YouTube. Wondering if Johan has any update on the issue we mentioned last week regarding how to stop Windows Update from automatically downloading hardware drivers during an MDT task sequence.
If the real question is, did I finish up my blog that I was kind of promising to do, the answer is no. I'm sorry. I have not, but it's still on the to-do list. So that blog is about to be written, but I haven't done it yet.
Right. Jamie's asking over here on YouTube, have you set up a PowerShell script to run as a non-admin account? It's giving me errors because of access ACL issues on SMS task sequence and Windows temp.
Yeah, I have done that. There are 2 solutions to it. Either you have a temporary action where you add the account to the local admin group before running the script. You run the script and then you remove the account out of the local admin group after the fact. Or you copy the script somewhere else and run it from there. The beautiful thing about running scripts in their default location in ConfigMgr is that it's either going to be in the sequence working directory or the sequence cache, or it's going to be inside the script store folder in the ConfigMgr client folder. And by default, only system have access to that one. So they're quite well protected. So if you're running scripts that may have some information in them that you may not want people to see, I'll say it's a better option to just grant temporary permissions and then yank them like a second later after the script has run. But both those options works nicely. I might have added some clarification to that in the blog post I wrote. I had one on adding devices to collection, and that was basically running No, I did not. That was just running the script. But I think I added in some instructions on yeah. No, that was just the script itself. No, you have to add it. Otherwise, it will fail.
All right. Just a follow-up from Jamie. I created a folder and removed all ACLs apart from system and non-admin account with read and execute.
Yeah. That works also. That works also.
Right. And then it looks like here in the chat, Dan had a follow-up for Amir's question on adding a registry key in order to prevent that Windows Update preventing Windows Update from automatically downloading those drivers during an MDT task sequence. Adding the drivers search order config D word.
I can bring up that registry key, share it on the screen. This one came up in the chat there. So that may absolutely work as well. I haven't tried this one. The solution I've been tested from Matt is basically preventing Windows Update itself at all from running during the sequence. And that is a combination of adding in a few entries in the unattended file together with a few scripts that run in the sequence phase that will effectively disable everything Windows Update until the sequence is done.
Awesome. Oh,
and then okay, sir.
I was just going to say follow up from Dan to set this back to 1 at the end of your sequence.
Yeah. So basically early sequence, early in the sequence, and last in the sequence. Something like this. Thank you. Appreciate that tip.
Very smart to paste this in Notepad++ as well. I know everybody was hoping that I was just going to say this verbally.
Well, you can do that too.
I could kill at least 2 minutes saying all this out loud. No, that's awesome. Thank you, Dan.
I mean, in theory, you can actually borrow something like this, where you smack in the registry key in the not yet booted version of Windows, because you can load that key from in the WinP phase and smack in the registry, and then as soon as Windows comes up, it's going to be there. Meaning you only have to enable it when the sequence is done. So that will really eliminate the need for risking that the sequence maybe will do something. Yeah. Anyhow.
All right. Where did I go? Here we go. Lost my spot there for a moment. Matt is asking on YouTube, I have configured Windows update rings via Intune. I can see some machines still did not get the policy and still have the updates via GPO. So what GPO can control the updates between WSUS and Intune?
Well, that's a question for you, sir, because I know that you wrote a post about it.
I did, and it just so happens that not only did I write a post about it, I think I can think of a couple of other posts that have been written about it. So if we go to, you could switch over to my screen if you want, Johan.
Yes, sir. Got it.
Let's see, is it Audit? Yes. So this doesn't have the specific group policies referenced in it. However, this does have some of the registry keys that can be set and are often set from what we've seen through group policy. So when you're switching over from ConfigMgr or WSUS over to Intune, sometimes these registry keys just simply don't get set correctly. Or you do have a group policy that, in fact, is setting these incorrectly for you. So there are several group policies that can show up that set these keys. So I'm going to I'll share this blog post first, because what I was writing about in this post is identifying those registry keys and how we can fix them. Secondly, we have, let me pull this up on the other screen real quick. We have a blog post from Ben Whitmore over on the MS Endpoint Manager blog that will help you also gather this information. And Ben does reference some of the group policies here in this blog post. So you can see here in some of the screenshots, he has some of those group policies. And I'm saying broadly some group policies because there's not just simply one group policy that can affect this. You can have automatic updates disabled. You can be setting scan source. You can be doing a lot of things that can affect how your clients are receiving their updates. And then Ben just did another blog post, first of the year, I think it was. I know I have that link somewhere. Where is that?
Hiding in plain sight.
I'm sure it is. Do you recall, Johan, was that actually posted on MS Endpoint Manager, or was that posted?
That
Might have
could
been
be
on the
a
My
Patch My PC blog also.
Let's look here. Yes, it was the Patch My PC blog. And it was first of the year, and it was Ben Whitmore. So I got two of those things right.
2 out of 3. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
I'll take it. We're halfway through the week. I'll take 66%. So Ben did a fantastic write-up here. Goes through in phenomenal detail this scenario about dual scan when you do have situations where clients are potentially scanning against 2 Windows Update sources, and some of these policies, which logs to look out for, some of the conflicts. If you're going through this scenario today, go take a look at this blog post. It's fantastic. So, Matt, I hope these resources help because that is it's a common. A lot of people find themselves in this scenario where it's not working as you might expect, and hopefully with these resources that will help you narrow things down at least. So I am going to share, or at least pull off these links as well, and I'll make sure these get shared for this evening. All right. Fantastic question, though.
Yeah, so Dan had another question regarding basically asking us if we remember a question about delegated rights in Intune. It boiled up apparently in the last Microsoft Endpoint office hours that I know they run every now and then as well. They didn't really have an option either at the time. Do you remember what that was about?
Not off the top of my head. Do you have it handy, Dan, where you could share or ask again? Or at least a couple of facts about it that might jog our memory here?
You have to remember that at least one of us is an elderly geek. And it's not Andrew.
I don't know. Sometimes I wonder. You have a memory like a steel trap, and you're reminding me of things. Although I could let you take the glory, you've put in your experience. You've earned that.
Fair enough.
All right. Delegated IT groups, scope tags, where you have to add groups. to the scope group in Intune for them to be used by the scoped role. Trying to think. I mean, I know we've talked about RBAC a couple of times recently-ish, within the last couple of months. Oh, if you let them make administrative units. I do remember that from, maybe that was in December. Yes,
There you
that
go.
was something I was working on. Let me make a fresh note to myself, because I actually started configuring that, and I think it was right before, might have been right before the holidays, either right before Christmas or Thanksgiving. I don't want to make excuses, Dan. Thank you for reminding me. But I was working on that, and Johan will hold me to follow up, of course.
Of course.
Intune. For what it's worth, I think I got stuck, as I'm sure you have as well, which I'm guessing is why you're asking, because I expected it to work in a certain way, and I don't think it did. But anyways, now I'm just sort of musing out loud. Yeah, they only live in Entra, but then you can't use them in Intune until they are scoped. Yeah. Sorry, that was a follow-up from Dan, and another follow-up. Microsoft was very lost on what to do. How do you do this in a delegated IT setup? Yeah, this is topical for me as well. So I am going to look into that. And I may have the very same answer that Microsoft had, but you never know. Role-based access is a topic near and dear to me. Well, I have some homework, Johan.
Yes, sir.
That's all right. I like homework.
So there was a question from Jamie regarding, let's see, basically where can I find the standalone EKB from Windows Update? The only way right now is to sneak it out of the larger packages that ConfigMgr downloads, those 10 gig UUP packages. Usually, clever people are posting direct links unofficially to the EKB directly, but I cannot say I have seen one from. Actually, I think I just found one. Let me see. I'm going to try that in a sandbox. Give me a second.
Good idea.
No, that was not the right link. Sometimes these direct links get posted. Right now, the only way that I have snatched that update is from the ConfigMgr package. Creative people, they usually found a way to find the direct links. Not entirely sure why they're simply not posted. Probably a good reason for it. But it just feels odd having to download 10 gig of content to get a patch that is about 150 kilobytes in size.
Yeah. right. Matt is asking, is that correct if you leave the workload for applications for app SCCM management instead of moving it to pilot on Intune, and you're still getting the app and apps updates from Intune?
I mean, the application workload is one of very few workloads where you can have both. They can both be deployed from ConfigMgr and Intune at the same time. I like to say you have to switch the workload over to Intune or to Pilot if you're just doing a pilot to get them both.
Pretty sure. So
I've tried.
You're saying, sorry, you're saying switch it to pilot and then you can get them from both as long as the device.
That works, but I just haven't tried to have it still on ConfigMgr and try to deploy it through.
Oh, I see.
To the same device.
Yeah.
But we can look it up. I mean, it's not too hard to test. It's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm making a note as well. We'll have to look up that until next time, I think. But
okay.
All right.
Yeah, I found a couple of things that might at least get us on our way. You and I can talk about offline.
Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What else? There's some follow-up comments on the RBAC question. Don't really have any more information to say about that one, I'm afraid. But thank you for providing the info. Anything else? We still have a good 10 minutes available. You may have been speaking since early morning, but we are not dead yet. So
Not yet. And I have a feeling that this won't be the last that we'll be seeing of our desks this evening either.
not entirely. It's a challenge when you either are attending a class or presenting one. The world around you typically don't stop. Stuff just piles up, and then when you're finally done with that day, it's like, good lord, I have to do this and this and this.
Yep.
And somewhere squeeze in dinner in that process.
Exactly. Make sure you stop in the kitchen, wash some extra dishes, spend a few extra minutes of free time with the wife.
Yeah, I was just watching them having a snowball fight outside. I was staring out the window earlier. The boys seem to be on the winning side for a bit there.
Gosh, they must be more ice balls than snowballs today.
Yeah, they're pretty wet.
Those ones might hurt. Dan just had a comment here, catching up on streams and discovered our streams and discovered the driver automation tool. And he mentioned they built a whole lot of PowerShell scripts to do the same thing.
Yeah, technically it is PowerShell.
Hmm.
I can actually show that because it's kind of, or I think it's cool.
Yeah, and it'll pop up the console, right?
So the driver automation tool, for those of you that are fresh to it, it's a remarkable tool to download BIOS and drivers packages and create ConfigMoney packages out of them. So, for example, all of these driver packages that I have here, I did not create. The tool did. All the BIOS packages that are here, I did not create. The tool did for me. But the tool is really a PowerShell script. And Maurice, I forgot when, some point last year, late last year, he released the source code for it, the actual script itself. So if you head over here and go to the driver automation tool Git repository and head over here, you can see that he added in the source code. So this script right here is that entire GUI, one of the larger PowerShell scripts I've seen. 20,000 lines of PowerShell script to produce that GUI. It's not something you write in a weekend.
No.
At least 2 weekends.
At least. Can't argue that.
I mean, he's been working on this since 2018.
Wow.
6 years.
Just fantastic work.
Now, if this is not a PowerShell script, I don't know what is, because it's pretty cool. Dan is mentioning they are an MDT only shop. Good thing this tool actually does work with MDT also. Obviously, it won't create any packages because MDT doesn't have packages. But I did put together a blog post also at some point last year, I think it was March, on how to set it up for MDT Light Touch. So there is no apply script like you have for ConfigManager, but the tool work to like populate your driver repository with drivers. But there are I've seen other community solutions out there for this as well. This is just a way to get drivers in there. This is what I like with the community, coming up with solutions where basically the Microsoft products have shortcomings and they figure out how to add it in somehow.
Yep.
So yeah, anyhow, I think it's cool. Any other questions? Yeah, Matt just reminded me in the chat there that I might have done a video on that I conveniently forgot about. Back to memory. Let's see. 2022. I wonder what that one could have been. That one, episode 12. Set up modern driver management. All right then. I'm not going to say that this session is not worth your time listening, but if you do have a few more minutes to spare, I actually had convinced, or somehow managed to convince Maurice to do a free hour and a half course with us on that. So if you guys have no plans for Friday, highly recommend this one. We had a recording from last year. Mike Terrell joined us as well for this one, but we're spending, I think we ended up almost 2 hours, but at least an hour and a half just spending time on this. And then the price for this one is just right. It's a free community course like anything else, but Maurice is, of course, together with Mike Terrell. They know a thing or two about drivers and BIOS management.
Yeah, I'll say. That is it's a superstar group right there.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. So anyhow.
Yeah. Jamie's asking, have you seen feeds from vendors with the updated XML? I see newer downloads when searching the models via the website. XML for model SKU is outdated.
No, I have not seen any feeds. I have basically been just tracking links, catalogs. Yeah. I've been tracking these for changes. You can just download them every day and have a look. I haven't seen an update feed for like all of them or any of them. I know that Dell has some sort of newsletter-ish you can subscribe to get info about at least security changes when there is like a BIOS version that has a real CVE attached to it, meaning something is real bad. I've seen companies getting those. But yeah, maybe it'll be a good idea for a website. Let us know when there is new stuff.
If only there were vendors that built these computers and could tell us when there was new stuff.
That would be nice. That would be nice. All right. I do not see any other questions in the queue.
There is a comment from Tesla Performance Racing, though. The drivers in the catalogs have more testing and is why they will sometimes be older than what shows up on the support pages directly.
That is true. They do go through those packages, and that is obviously a good thing. Yeah. Dan was mentioning an error about downloading the Visual Studio isolated shell. We tried that link because I remember having some troubles with that myself until I realized I needed to be logged in. Let's see if I have that link. Yeah, here. So if you go to that link here, you have to accept the license agreement. And then you have to go grab the isolated shell for Visual Studio 2013. And in order to get that one, you need to be logged into My Visual Studio. And if you just download this one here, click download, you get, okay, what can I pick from, a text file or a cat file? I don't want that. But you actually have to select, this is so stupid, you have to select DVD. And then when you hit download, it will give you the exe file.
That's exactly what Dan just followed up with. You have to change the drop down from OTH to DVD, whatever OTH is.
It's probably something fancy.
Yeah, I was trying to think of some clever comedic comment, but I'm coming up empty. I think that's how you know it's about time for dinner.
Yeah. I do not know what that stands for. But we can figure out that one to next week. But ladies and gentlemen, we are up on the hour. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Andrew, for being with me here. And we hope to see you again next week.
Thanks for having me. Talk to you all next week. Thank you. Have a great rest of your week.
Bye.